We have certification of compliance.
This meeting was publicly noticed according to section 19.84 of the Wisconsin state statutes.
As far as the agenda, I don't see anyone, public comments. Do we have anyone online or? Okay, all right. So, I mean, we're just kind of informal group, basically, that have been kicking around ideas about what we might do with opioid money or what recommendation we might want to make to the committee, to the county board, you know, to see, I guess, you know, Gary's got kind of some good news, interesting. I think you guys got some emails about it already.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to just give us a little heads up. You know, we had kind of focused on really wanting a residential treatment center in northern Wisconsin. You know, everybody kind of agreed that there's nothing in northern Wisconsin, you know. And I know you had talked to Andy, the administrator.
Yeah, he was going to
He
share it
was gonna
with.
kind of share it because we decided unless other counties are on board, we're not gonna do it by ourselves. You
Yeah.
know, there's no way. So, but Gary did find a really interesting, he found the place.
I couldn't believe it when we went there. Our David, he's obviously Mexican, and he right now they're having numerous Mexican workers in the area, and so they wanted to have a church service for him. So that's why they contacted David, and he was like, this 52-room place, and I'm like, holy cow. And he said, why don't you come along? And because we were talking, you know, needing expansion for the men's house. And we come to this place and it's like, it's unbelievable. 52 rooms fully. The bedrooms are all decked out. It's like ready to be moved into a commercial kitchen, a commercial walk-in cooler and freezer. It is, you could fit 104 people in. It has a whole medical wing, which is, I mean, it's like, this is what we would dream about as far as having a treatment facility in Northwest Wisconsin. It at one time was a nursing home, and Ruby's Pantry bought it a number of years ago and kind of remodeled it and everything. And we're going to run it as a retreat and kind of an outreach where there's a beauty parlor in there, the medical and dental stuff. It's like everything is there. It's got a loading dock coming into it. And it's like we could do everything we want to do, but obviously it's going to take some, that's where if this money, if we could get the, you know, the money from the opioid settlement, that could provide some, you know, yearly basis for getting it going. And as far as that goes, we would take care of the fundraising to buy it. That would not be anything put on the counties or anything like that.
We meaning who?
Well, it would be,
Community.
yeah, it's going to be like Crossroads from Ashland. They're very interested in this as well. And because all of us have been, obviously, Bayfield County, Ashland County, Price County, we've got, in fact, a number of the guys, two of the guys in the house right now are from Price County, because there's no place over there either. And
We would be able to form a nonprofit probably of some type, and then we would be able to fundraise if other
yeah,
counties were interested. I mean, if we could fundraise, and I do think we could do it. I think it takes a lot of work and stuff, but I think you get enough different organizations, enough different places. If we could actually purchase it, then when we talked about this with Lieutenant too, that we didn't want that money just to get one-shot deal and not be, you know, for 18 years. But if each county would be willing to somehow commit their money to operating it, you know, over the next 18 years, and, you know, every county's got different allocations. Because the operating budget would obviously,
oh yeah,
even if you can buy it, it's to maintain it and operate it would be the.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you could subcontract that out to another agency to run it for you, you know, because it'd be pretty hard to manage, you know.
well, we would have to have
Facility like that.
a meeting of the minds. And because we'd need counselors, we'd need doctors, we'd need dentists, we would need all the, you know, support staff to be able to move forward with this.
And
But
that, yeah, it might be like, kind of like Oasis was, that we contracted with Northwest Passage, so you might be able, might be easier if pie in the sky if this ever came to we could do this and to look for an outside agency, just like we hired Justice Point, instead of us trying to have a criminal justice coordinator, this and this and this, you know, to look to an outside agency that would be able to coordinate all of the services that you needed, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just talking a little bit about, you know, I'm sure Gary, I think, did you forward some stuff?
No, I didn't, I don't have her
Okay.
email,
Yeah.
so.
We were just talking about, Gary found a building that would really be ideal for a residential treatment facility in Wisconsin. Got a hefty price tag, but
But we could never even come close to building that. I mean, right now, to have that kind of function,
they want 2.6
two,
million.
2.9, I think it is.
2.9.
Yeah.
What is it being used for now?
Well, it was gonna be a retreat center. They bought it, it used to be a nursing home. And they remodeled it, and this is Ruby's Pantry, the one that does the food outreach and all that. And then when COVID hit, that pretty much knocked the retreats right out of the, and right now they wanna basically sell this to like a ministry or a work to help with drug addiction and alcohol. I mean, this whole thing is like, I went there that day, I was like, holy cow, this would fit the bill for Northwest Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And that's, it's like, so we just got to get everybody on the same page, and I think it would be good to get a group to go over and look at it and walk through it, and he would give you, I mean, I was just blown away how nice it is, and everything's been remodeled, new carpeting in it. You know, it doesn't have the nursing home smell to it, you know, you.
Well, the pictures that they were gonna use it as a retreat center, so
Yeah.
obviously they did a lot of work to bring it up to more, yeah, not like a nursing home.
Yeah. And it's got a huge dining area, like 300 could fit in it, and
Wow.
it's,
I like the idea of getting partners because you don't have anything like that in our area at all. It's been missing for a long time, I think.
I think we'd almost have to get buy-in from Polk County since it's in their county.
yeah,
You know, the other thing too, and I'm probably getting way ahead of myself on this, but we would probably want to look at depending on percentage of contributions, like reserved bed spaces, because I know when Station 3 was still open in Cumberland for mental health commitments, that was a long time ago, but we were lucky if we got a bed there. And so most of the time we'd end up going down to Eau Claire or wherever, you know, if we had emergency detention, for example. So I guess this would be kind of along the same lines, but I would just, I guess I would, you know, be skeptical, you know, Polk County, there was what, 65,000 people and we have 18,000 people. Now, I don't know the comparisons of.
Because they're gonna want a lot more pets, yeah.
Right, you know, so I don't know drug problem wise, what their percentage is versus ours, but just something to consider.
that's stuff we'd have to figure out.
Right.
I think the first thing we gotta find out, and that's what we're hoping Andy would be here, because he had a meeting with all the other
Administrators.
administrators and was gonna supposedly solicitate them and see if there was an interest, because if none of the other counties are even interested,
Yeah,
we're kind of at a dead end, there's not gonna be able to pursue it, right?
If the other counties are having the same problem we are, and I know they are, I don't see how they cannot be interested. I mean, that's just,
Well,
amen.
it seems
I
kind of like
agree.
no brainer, wouldn't it? But yeah,
I agree.
right.
It's like, man,
And then to find out how much money each of the counties have been allocated, because I assume like Polk County probably getting a lot more funding than
Right.
Sawyer County, obviously, right? And then start to look at.
Oh, is it based on the population of the county?
I think he said it was
It
based
is,
on.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So is Sawyer County, what was it, 650,000?
785, I think.
726.
726, yeah.
So I mean, they could be getting 4 times that or whatever, right? So I guess it's something to continue to pursue and see if we get buy-in from other counties, and that's the main thing. And I don't know if it would help for like us as a committee to send a letter to, I mean, it was some of our administrators who talk to the other administrators without having to formally send a, you know what I mean? That's why, I guess we'll, maybe at your meeting, your next meeting here in June, you can bring it up, whether he got any feedback on, you know, buying into something like this or not. Right? So we can kind of know whether we should continue to
What
get
about-
numbers or, right?
What about sending an email to the administrator, Andy? And ask him to follow up, because then you have something in writing.
Sure, because he was going to, because Gary came in and talked to him actually.
Yeah,
And he had a, like, they meet once a month or whatever, the administrators, and he was going to supposedly bring it
it
up.
was like last Monday, I
Yeah,
thought that
Find
they,
out
meet
whether
weekly.
there was any
Yeah.
buy-in.
oh, they meet
from the
weekly,
house.
okay.
Be so exciting to see that this might be a possibility.
It is, I mean, if we could build a, how many millions of dollars is this gonna cost? To construct the courthouse,
10-ish,
10 million?
roughly. I think.
Yeah, so we're looking at a facility, if we could pick something like this up for
Yeah.
under 3. yeah, Could be put in service relatively fast, oh my gosh.
Yeah, like you said, it's ready to be, I mean, the kitchen is up and everything's in good working order and
And
There's
I'm
new
sure they were
furnaces.
committed for everything, I mean, I'm sure it had to be inspected for everything if they were gonna use it as a retreat center, so. That's That's pretty exciting. Did you have any other thing about, did you contact the people next to the House of Hope?
I did, but
Did you go look at it?
Yeah. I'm meeting with someone right after this meeting,
Okay.
someone that you guys all know very, very well, and we're discussing about another place. So that would be, we could probably get at least 8, maybe 10 if we squeezed them in, but which would be bigger than where we're at. So,
So that could be changed into something else.
yeah, that could, but we'll just see. I have
Yeah.
1:30 meeting with them, so.
Right. And then I think, Ted, you were gonna get some numbers, I think, on additional mental health counseling costs, because we had talked about if we can't get a residential treatment center, then looking at trying to allocate the opioid funding that we're gonna get over the next 18 years, somehow getting into a budget to provide mental health services, through the jail or whatever avenue, it takes. The jail seems kind of like the logical place because that's where people tend to end up when they're having mental health issues, so.
The
Yeah.
best number I could get, ACH is an interesting company. The local hires are always fantastic, but then the higher up you go, which it seems like there's a lot of higher ups, the more diluted the information gets. So the best information I got is that it would be $65 per hour additional with, and it would be in 2-hour increments. We're currently at 8 hours a week. And then it would depend on if we added 2 more hours a week. I'm not sure if our current mental health provider could do those 2 additional hours. But if we went as far as a total of 40 hours a week, then he probably would leave where he's at and then go to work for ACH full time. And he would be phenomenal. I mean, I've gotten rave reviews from staff and inmates on him. So he's just one of those guys that gets along with everybody and he's easy to talk to. So yeah, I guess we have to, I can kind of see a direction that we would want to go on that and what we'd be looking at.
So the service they're providing is a wraparound service, it's not just mental health, that's where the nurses through and everything, right?
Correct. Yep.
So, do you think there's a need for 40 hours a week in the gym?
I think we could easily use 40 hours a week. Easily.
So do you think it would be worth pursuing the county actually hiring a mental health counselor just to work in the jail? And
Yeah.
And I mean, I know it's a package that we have, but I'm sure there's different packages that company offers. too.
There are. Sergeant Waller and I attended the Regional Jail Administrators Conference last week on Thursday. Yeah, there's companies like Taylor County, for example, they have their own nurse, but then they hire ACH for the mental health and the doctor side of it.
Mhm.
So there's different routes that we could go with that. The only caveat would be if we get into a situation where any type of medication would have to be prescribed, I would have to look and see if we do need a psychiatrist on board with that as well. And
I was just gonna ask too, does Sawyer County have an addiction specialist, like somebody who could do medically assisted treatment? Like we have Dr. Steck at Pashiki.
we currently don't. I actually stopped gabapentin and Suboxone in the jail, the use of either of them in the jail, with the exception of extreme cases that I meet with the nurse and doctor on, because all we saw was abuse issues, even within the jail, they'd cheek them and everything else. So it's sad because that would be ideal. We have a meeting on the 8th with that lady for Vivitrol.
Yes.
Yeah, and I assume that it's some type of grant funded thing and it's an injectable thing, so that would be ideal because then our nurse would do the injection. It's not like it can be abused or anything like that.
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah, so June 8th, Becky and I are meeting with this lady from
Okay.
a company that does that. So hopefully that's a route we can go. Because I know Vivitrol in and of itself is very expensive, but if this is a grant type situation, then we can
It
probably,
works, I guess.
Yeah.
Does work.
so
Jeff, how many hours is that person here now?
8 hours a week.
8 hours per week?
Yep.
So could we hire the guy away who's so great, you think?
Ideally, I mean, because even when I talked to his boss, she said that he has entertained the notion of going with ACH full-time. I would have to look at some contract language, because if we were to hire him as a county employee, there's a no compete clause in our contract, so I would have to look at timelines and stuff, but realistically, most of that stuff, I'm not an attorney, but I think you can get around pretty easily anyway. You know, if he was hired as a county employee versus a sheriff's office employee, there, you know, might be something as simple as that. So if we get to that point, you know, we can just get legal counsel involved and see what route we could go.
So I don't know, any other avenues that people think we should explore, you know, for the use of this money? I mean, these were the two that I think the committee kind of was focused on a little bit in terms of, you know, our first thing was obviously to have a rehabilitation center in Northwest Wisconsin, and then if not, to where do we use that money, right?
Yeah. Did you talk about aftercare? I know
No,
that's
we
something.
have
that-
not, no.
Okay, That's something that we don't have in our area at all, is aftercare. Like they go to treatment, you know, they have their assessments done and they come back, but there's nothing here to kind of help them to move along down that sobriety path.
I know Tweed had talked about, you know, because we have the mentors for the House of Hope here, and that is huge. People who are, you know, square in their own walk and walk alongside them, so they do have someone to.
It's not like when you're done with the program, you just back out on the street.
That's right. We don't just send them out the door and say, good luck.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
that's like a transition house.
Yeah.
To do something where you could actually, once you get out of jail or whatever, there would be a spot, some place for you to go in a transition house. With a set of rules and everything, obviously, but not as structured as a treatment program.
Right. I know I've been talking to the council for the past 3 years about our need for a, like an Al-Anon building like you have here in Hayward, where they could meet up with others to have meetings, have coffee.
Right. Even just recreational
Yeah.
tables, whatever,
Like
just so you're.
cars, whatever. We really need that, and I mean, they listen to me, but
There's no
Do
money.
anything. They're polite and they listen to me, but they don't do anything.
I do think that is a real big component though, because I mean, I drive by and I see people standing out of the street and I know they just got released from jail and they don't have anywhere to go. And then somebody picks them up and takes them right back to where they were before and they're couch surfing and pretty soon.
Yeah, most are homeless, so they're couch surfing is right.
And where are you gonna find a place to rent in Hayward? For
Yeah.
less than $800, $900 or something like that, and people don't have that money. So that might be another priority that should be looked at.
Transitional housing.
Makes total sense. So do you have any feel how the county board, what they're thinking about for the money?
I
Have
don't
they
think,
kicked it around at all, or not really?
I don't think they kicked any of this around yet. I've only been in a few meetings, I'm pretty new at this still, so it's like
I didn't mean to put you on the
kind
spot, but.
whatever, but you know, I don't know how tight they're gonna be on a lot of this funding when it comes to the opioid. They're still working on the ARPA funds yet, it seems like, so I don't think they made a step to figure out what fund we're gonna do with the opioid funding. Am I right? Does that sound correct?
So is the ARPA money all spoken for?
No,
Because ARPA
There's still
money
like
could be used for
1.5, I
this
think.
also too.
1.5 million left, I think, something like that.
That could
I think
be.
it's what Andy said last 2 weeks ago.
And that's really not budgeted at this point.
It's not
I
budgeted right
have
now,
a-
no.
It's a lot.
So that would be some additional money that perhaps could. be-
Yeah.
If we were talking like
Yeah,
a
we'll
transition
see.
house, you know, to help. Hopefully on money, combination, right?
What would a transitional house look like? Would it have accommodate men and women or have divided dorms?
I think we
or-
would have to have divided dorms, and I think you'd have to have, like, house parents, I guess, I don't know if that's the proper term nowadays, but.
Checkers, I think they're called checkers in other counties,
Checkers.
they have, you know, in Ashland County, I think it's Genesis is who they contract with, and they come at different times throughout the night to check.
Okay,
There's obviously curfew and rules, and the one that I'm familiar with, all, if they're placed there, and they're on supervision, they're all on electronic monitoring as well. A TLP is a huge need for clients on supervision, getting out of prison. We don't have one in our county. And so a lot of times if we have clients getting out homeless, we're sending them to another TLP in a different county. But then it's a policy that they have to return to this county eventually. So then they're coming back eventually homeless. So that is a need that the department would definitely, we fund to house people in the other ones. So where there's contract, the DOC has contract beds. So that's a huge need that we have.
so would they have like 50 beds or 75 beds or,
I don't know of any that big.
okay, I was just
Um,
wondering.
Yeah, the ones that I know of, there's one in Rice Lake and I think it's 8. There's one in Ashland and I think it's about 10, 12.
Usually
I
they
mean-
tend to be under 20, don't they? I
Yeah.
mean, smaller.
They're
so
houses.
They're smaller, yeah.
I think that would be big enough if you have no drug problem.
Well, I think the smaller they are, the more manageable it is. too,
Probably.
like, if you start running a big facility. So how much money do you think is being spent sending people?
That would be above me.
Okay,
yeah.
just kinda curious. Yeah, it's an interesting thing that we're
Yeah.
actually paying to, yeah.
There's, for the TLPs, I believe there's a contract. That would be Mary Zank. She's the program support. She does the money handling and contracts like that. So that would be something I can bring her in on. If
Yeah, I'd
we,
be curious just to know how much, because
What is a
that's.
TLP?
transitional living program. I think they've switched the term to temporary, THS, temporary housing. I can't think of what the
Situation,
service
I
is.
don't know.
Temporary housing service, I think. They switched it because I always say TLP and get corrected. That's THS. So,
That'd be similar to the new reflections here in town.
no, because New Reflections is that
Is that
sponsored
domestic?
by the,
It's faith-based. This
Yeah.
would be not necessarily
right?
faith-based, and, you know, I think we need both, obviously, you know, because not everybody who's gonna come out is gonna wanna go into a household or religious type program that doesn't prevent them from needing, obviously, the services. So I'd be really curious how many people or how much money it's.
Yeah, I would be curious too. as to
And how do people hook up? Like, who decides that that person gets to go into a transitional housing services
Are
versus?
they referred by
Yeah.
DOC or?
The one that I know of, because I was in Ashland before, it was mainly Ashland, and they didn't take violent offenders or anybody with a sex offender conviction unless they could justify it, I guess. And then I guess it kind of depends. I know the one in Rice Lake seems to take a little bit more people.
The one in Ashland did not take sex offenders.
I don't think so.
Is that fairly new? Do you know?
No, I don't think that they did.
So are most of our offenders violent offenders or not?
It'd be hard to say, because a lot of times we hear about things that have happened, or there's a car stop because they busted into a house, or, you know, whatever the case was. Well, then the people don't want to write statements, so they end up getting found with drugs on it. You know, there's so many different scenarios. So yes, we do have plenty of violent offenders over there, but percentage wise, I don't have that right now.
But we'd have plenty of other people that could
Yeah.
go in, even
Sometimes
violent.
it would be nice though if there was somewhere for the violent.
For the
offenders
other
as
people.
well.
Well, it
Because those
depended.
are the ones that are really difficult. the
It
ones that-
depends on what falls under violent
Right.
offense too, because what what you and I might think falls under a violent offense, like for TAD funding, we have like very specific offenses that will fall under violent offenses. And at first glance, what you might think might fall under one doesn't necessarily fall under those
So you
offenses.
might be able to structure that it could piggyback on the criteria.
Yeah,
that used
sometimes
for
you
STAT,
can,
right, too.
sometimes you can slide things in that, there's a caveat that. Not that I'm trying to slide things in, but you have to specifically look at what falls under a violent offense for,
Right, 'cause it's a
well,
broad-
we
it's a
do
very
for
broad
funding
term.
purposes. When we're referring people to different programs, we have to figure out what is and it isn't.
That sounds, now we have another option on the table. right?
Yeah.
All three are needed, so.
Does Sawyer County have anger management classes? Do they have them in the jail?
There are access to on their like little texter devices that they have. There's a whole bunch of different programs. There is one of those is anger management. We don't currently have anybody coming in to do anger management though that I can think of.
Not specifically.
Not specifically for that, no. But it goes through, I mean, I've read through most of the PDFs that are on there, and like the anger management one, I think it's a 2-page PDF, but it just gives, basically coping skills when you start getting into the red when you're above 70, I can't remember exactly how they word it, different things about breathing exercises and grounding and a whole bunch of different techniques to basically try to bring somebody's blood pressure back down, for lack of better words, but.
I had a young man in my court who was in prison and went through anger management because he had an anger problem. And he was talking about, how it helped him to understand himself better and what his triggers were and how to take a deep breath and step back. So I think those things are helpful.
They are actually, a guy who is a veteran and has and he has a dog that has been trained that it can sense, it's pretty incredible, but it can sense when he's starting to get
Spiral.
yes,
Escalate.
agitated or whatever, the dog will actually come and kind of intervene in between. It's trained to do that and it de-escalates the whole situation. And it's been very effective in terms of him being able to relieve his family and cope and whatever. Kind of interesting that, you can train dogs for all kinds of service activities, but the dog can sense it and the dog comes and kind of intervenes and kind of stuff. I don't know if there's any else thing, I have to leave, I have to take them out to the doctor, but is there anything else you guys can continue to discuss things? I think if we could get some information about how many people and what the cost is, that would be really beneficial.
And then the email to the administrator.
Just reminding him, would say, please get back to the committee. Maybe I'll shoot him the email and say if he could have some type of report or something to present at the next meeting, so that we know if anybody's interested or if he's reached out and done that.
Did you guys ever get any figures on the amount of offenders that,
Jeff got some.
did you?
Yeah, I didn't bring it with me though, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, no, because Andy was wanting that so he could take it to the county board and say, this is how much it's costing Sawyer County, and this is the percentages of people that come to jail and the recidivism and all that.
And I talked to Becky a little bit about it, we met last week on it, but the only problem with our records management software is I can type in drug related, arrests and bookings or drug equipment, so paraphernalia, or, if they have, equipment for, dealing or whatever the case is. And then for, impaired driving, the problem is it doesn't differentiate. If I've been arrested 6 times for possession of meth, I'm just 6 of the 300 and some numbers, it's not only one for me. So I would have to go through every single individual booking to determine how many people, if it's the same person. And we have plenty of people over there that have been brought in on the same offenses, some of them half a dozen times, so.
So is that,
No, not a work group. I think it's just the coordinating council.
he brought you those
Yeah.
numbers, is that helpful if it's?
Yeah, because that's what Andy wanted to be able to take to the county board and say, hey, this, that would maybe encourage them that we should look at some kind of a treatment option here where we can all work together and he could have some figures of like, hey, this is real big problems that, like the percent of the people in jail, what is it, like 80-90% that are there because of drug and alcohol
Pretty
issues?
close, yeah.
Yeah. it's
Well,
like,
and yeah, I mean, realistically, if you boil it down, it's pretty close to one arrest a day for, a drug-related offense. The average,
I would think it'd be more attractive to people who are trying to watch the bottom line, but yet understanding that they have a serious drug problem in their county, to share those costs with other counties and tribes.
Yep.
Because tribes would use it too. So I think that's an attractive idea. Of course, I can't speak for policymakers, but sounds good. So the next meeting, I was asking, but I guess no date has been set for our work group.
Not for the work group, no, the 8th, I believe, is our CJCC meeting.
Okay. So what was the plan for that work group done? Just want to wait until after the board meeting?
I think that's what you did last time, is wait until after the CJCC meeting to see what next steps the work group did. That's what you did last.
Yeah, and I think she's gonna be gone on the 8th, so I'll be chairing the meeting if somebody helps remind me if I forget to cover that, that would be great.
Okay.
First meeting I'll be chairing, so if I screw anything up, that's why.
I'm sure you're great. Did Tom Hoff, did he move now? Is he gone?
He has his cottage here, but he's retired. His wife still lives, he and his wife still live in Eau Claire,
Oh, okay.
but he still has his cabin here. One out.
One. Okay. Great work done. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
I took my dog to that new, they got new owners at that animal. They call it. Reminded me